Nice. Hi. So Zach, online we have Victor Lucas.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
It's going good. How are you guys?
Awesome.
Where are you based? Are you all in the same city?
I'm shortly moving to Edmonton.
Okay.
And Justin, you're in Lethbridge, right?
Yep.
So both Alberta, I guess.
Okay.
And
I'm just a short distance away, Kansas City.
You're in Kansas. Wow, that's cool. That's awesome. How'd you guys meet?
how did we meet, Jesse? Like online? I don't know.
I met you through Infendo.
Yeah, that's right. So an older, like a Nintendo podcast that I was a part of back in the day. Jesse was a listener and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
I was a fan turned podcaster.
That's awesome. Well, my daughter is here because I felt
Hi.
into that. This is Ruby. I felt like since I was talking about her, she probably would want to be in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're promising that you're not going to be too loud, right? Yeah, you're going to listen, and when we ask you a question, you're gonna answer us. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's super cool. I love that.
I can't get my 16-year-old to say yup like that.
Put him behind the microphone. He's like, and
yeah.
that's pretty much it the whole time.
Whenever I'm on a call or talking in the mic, the first thing she says is, "Can they hear me?"
That's super funny.
And Vic, how old is Ruby?
How old are you, Ruby?
3.
Holy
That's
man.
exciting.
That is like the age where they like the independence increases like to a point where like everything is no and all that sort of good stuff. I've got a little girl who's 2.5 and a son who's 4, almost 5. So.
Oh yeah, you've been through all this.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. It's pretty fun. So.
And then I have a 5 and a 7-year-old daughters.
Oh, right on, man.
Yeah, so they're a lot of fun. I have a hard time believing my youngest is just starting kindergarten actually this year.
Oh, same here. It's weird.
It's surreal. Yeah, Ruby's in daycare and fast tracking towards preschool and then kindergarten's coming.
One of these treats.
I will take this treat. Thank you, darling.
That's awesome.
Then I have a 13, 15, and 16-year-old.
Wow.
He's got old man Jesse over here.
Want a treat?
That's awesome.
So for you, Vic, I guess we might as well just like we've kind of sort of we're pretty casual here on the show, and so even just getting started right away. So tell us a little bit about you've obviously been in the video game industry for a long time. Is video game journalism. What is sort of your view of, and of course we're a Nintendo podcast, so where do you see Nintendo currently in the role of, there's a lot of talk about Nintendo specifically being like this more of like a family oriented games company, and what sort of role does Nintendo play both in your life and in your family as well? How do you feel that compares to even the other companies in the business?
Nintendo is a timeless company. Nintendo has mastered the art of appealing to a large cross-section of interests and ages and demographics. And, they're a company with real permanence and a company of, a sort of inherent sort of appreciation for the art form, for the medium, and that okay, that was all from Iwata down, and it's been the culture that Nintendo's had for a long time. Okay. So what's amazing for me is you want to say
absolutely.
Okay, what do you want to say? Do you want to tell them what you think of Nintendo? What do you think of Nintendo, Ruby? You want to come up?
I want to go where they are.
You want to go where they are? Well, they're in Alberta and they're in Kansas City. They're very far away. Should we take it out there one day?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And if you'd like to come visit Ruby, we'd be more than happy to have you come visit.
Absolutely. Anytime.
they asked me about Nintendo. What do you think about Nintendo? Do you like Mario? Is he one of the guys that's talking to me? Yeah, he's dressed like Mario in his picture. Isn't he cool? Isn't that awesome? Do you like Mario?
Yeah, in that picture, he looks like he's in a game.
He does look like he's in a game. You know why? He's a big game nerd, just like your daddy is.
He looks like he's in a game
Yeah.
right now.
I think he loves video games as much as I do. And what's your favorite video game?
Dora.
I played the Dora video game with Ruby on the PlayStation 2. I don't know if I'm allowed to say PlayStation 2.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, we played that together. It was the first one that Ruby finished.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Pretty good. Yeah, we're taking it easy. You know what? She's seen the 16-bit Zelda from the Super Nintendo.
I want to watch Zelda.
Yeah, you want to watch Zelda, and she likes the old. She calls it the old Zelda, and then I've shown her a little bit of.
I want to watch the old Zelda right now,
Ruby,
Dad.
we're talking.
Enough of this nonsense. I've been here for a good 5 minutes. It's time for Zelda.
I want to watch old Zelda when you're done talking.
Okay, when we're done talking, we'll play some old Zelda.
Yippee!
Yippee!
and so that old Zelda there, Vic, that's a Link to the Past.
A Link to the Past, you got
Or
it.
the new Zelda.
And she has seen the new Zelda. I showed her Wind Waker, which is absolutely
I
phenomenal.
want new Zelda.
You like new Zelda. But,
I want new Zelda.
but
I want to watch new Zelda after this.
okay, darling. But she got a little bit spooked out by one of the characters. It was like a big talking tree. And
I want to watch the talking tree, but I'm not afraid of that.
Okay, good.
He's not afraid anymore. That's good.
Yeah, she was looking at it when she was, about 2.5, and it freaked her out a little bit. But I want, my wife and I are kind of going back and forth on this stuff with video games. I want Ruby to have, I don't want her to be obsessed with games.
I call that tree guy tree monster.
Tree monster.
That's a good name for it.
But I want Ruby to have an appreciation, like I want her to know about games and know some of the history, and she can make up her own mind if she's going to get into them. But I feel like every, kid that's growing up these days needs to know about music and needs to know about, the good television programming at every age and good movies.
Dad, when are you going to be done talking?
And good spoken. I'm boring her to tears already. and good games as well, So, but it can be dangerous, as you guys know, right? You can't just let them go hog wild with this stuff and disappear into in front of a screen forever. You have to do it in little bits and make sure there's a balance.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's an interesting balance where like you said, like you want to expose them to it, and you want to be able to let them kind of form their own taste and their own sort of interests and things like that. But I know more than anything, like after about 4:00, if we don't take the iPad away or the Wii U or whatever and turn it off, come bedtime, it is like a madhouse where it's just it's like I have not expended my energy for the day, and now it's time to go. Like for sure, So it's definitely kind of going to what you were saying, though. It almost sounds like you're saying there's got to be a sort of moderation there and a sort of balance between the two. It's not like you can just cut them off or let them go wild either way on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and that's for us too. I think
totally.
That's the danger of gaming, is that it's so unbelievably attractive and so addictive, and we're parents now, so we have constraints on time, which is what happens when you get older. Luckily for me, I was able to build a career where my job was to be able to escape and play these games. Otherwise, I don't know how much I'd be able to do if you had like a regular job and I was a parent, like most parents out there. And I hear from parents all the time, they really like the shows that we make because it allows them to jump into the world that they used to have a lot more time for. And it gives them kind of exposure to a lot of these titles without having to actually spend the 60 or 70 hours out there.
Right.
Yeah, this is just our hobbies. We each have our own separate 9-to-5s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the other trick and balance too, right? And your kids need to see that you can have entertainment, but you also have to have family time and outdoor time and fun in lots of other ways too.
Mhm.
But that's another reason why I love Nintendo though, because they seem to also understand that and appreciate that, and with the software that they make, they endeavor to kind of get us not physically outdoors, but they set a lot of stuff outdoors, and a lot of their content is about exploration and
well, and I mean, even so much of like going back to like the Wii, like Wii Fit or even like Wii Sports. After playing it for like 15 or 20 minutes, you almost get the reminder. Oh, don't you want to get up and go outside for a little while? And all those sorts of stuff like that too, right?
And
So,
you get that a lot of 3DS games too, like Link Between Worlds.
oh
It's been
yeah,
a while since you stopped, so you want to take a break? No, I want to keep playing.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing, and there's a humanness to the way that Nintendo makes stuff, and
How can I watch the old stuff?
well, what are we doing right now? Can you watch we're still talking about.
You can.
We're going to be done in about 20 minutes, okay? You want to sit down and do some more cutting and drawing?
No, I already was gonna make those little things to. I want to make those things to be free.
Hey, why don't you go grab some of the Disney Infinity characters over there? You want to go hang on with some of those toys over there?
Why?
You can play with the little figures over there.
So that's a little bit of a good segue there, Vic, in relation to Amiibo and the Disney characters. How's Ruby taken on to those figures as well? I know that you're a massive toy collector, obviously.
I love
are you having to reinforce your shelves on your wall yet, like I am? Like what's?
It's a bit obscene. I mean, I think that's the other thing. Right? Like if you don't lose that fascination with this hobby, it's never been better to be a toy collector. But then your house is just buckling, right? It becomes ridiculous after a while. And but I put on Disney Infinity in particular and blew Ruby's mind with the way that the characters would switch in and out. And she doesn't know all the Disney characters, but she's been to Disneyland and she's watched a few of the movies and stuff. And to see these characters and then see that they're interactive and just that whole animation, that whole opening sequence for the last Disney Infinity game, 2.0,
Mm-hmm.
just insanely cool. And I try to, especially with my job and with having to kind of comment on this stuff and review this stuff, I try to transpose myself to how it would be to be young and to discover some of this stuff. Because I feel like I never really lost that youthful. I haven't. I love all of this stuff still, but I just it's amazing what's available to young people now. It's just incredible stuff. All four of us would only have dreamt about, and we wouldn't even believed it if people told us some of the things that you can just walk up onto a shelf and pick off the shelf and buy and take home. It's incredible.
I remember very distinctly getting my my Nintendo 64 a couple days after it launched. Sitting down playing Super Mario 64 and saying, "There is no way things are going to get better than this."
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I know.
And you think of where we are now with obviously virtual reality on the horizon, the toy to life with Amiibo, and it's incredible to think of where it's come.
Yeah, I love all the Amiibos. I love the Skylander stuff. I'm I think more partial to Disney Infinity because I'm a huge Marvel fan and I can't wait for the Star Wars stuff. Like they have the characters that I want to play.
Oh yeah, with that 3.0 or whatever, just having especially that toy box mode in that game gets more and more appealing with each new version of the game because I'm gonna have like Iron Man fighting alongside Luke Skywalker, fighting alongside Mr. Incredible. Like it's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, now Lego's going to get into the fray too, and that'll be interesting. I think this is a really exciting dynamic, and what I want for all of these franchises to do is to scale it up a little bit and think of the collector market out there and make sort of prestige type format figs, bigger scale or with vehicles or something like that. I think that'd be great. Because I like the sculpts and all of this stuff as well.
Well, yeah, that's the one thing with some of the more recent Amiibos in particular. I've noticed that with Palutena and Dark Pit, the two most recent ones I picked up, the sculpting on those on the Amiibo compared to Disney Infinity characters and the painting and the the sort of detail work on those is incredible. But I think the problem with a lot of those is you end up running into production issues because of that too. So yeah, it's interesting, but I totally agree, and I think that that would be a really interesting direction for them to go as well, for sure. So
yeah, well, I love Nintendo, guys. I mean, I really do. I just think they're such a unique company, and I was at GDC when Iwata. Well, I was there when he gave away the Brain Age cartridges, and that was a crazy time. Yeah, not too loud, big loud. And I was there when he did his keynote and talked about the iTunes explosion and how games were becoming sort of devalued and kind of worthless, and pretty gutsy and controversial, but also kind of on point, and stuff that's been at least reflected a lot as criticism around free to play has grown. Now I think that there has been a little bit more of a settling in the marketplace, and developers have become a little bit smarter with how they design some of those games. But I believe that we, like, Nintendo has always had an appreciation for the actual cost of goods and the value of the experience, and I think they've been pretty fair. Like, not every move they've made has been awesome and maybe inclusive for the rest of the business. I think they've always been let's take care of our corporate culture first. But they've brought so much, beauty into the world with the products that they built. It's hard to be too critical of them. And now what's interesting is that they're really kind of understanding the extended value of the characters that they've crafted. And now we're going to start to see them in all kinds of really interesting ways. Like, I mean, I've been covering this business for 20 years, and I've never seen as many cool Nintendo figures and toys as I'm starting to see now.
Right, and then with the stuff with Universal Studios and the potential Netflix series or movies or who knows. Like, I mean, as badly as this movie is reviewed, like Pixels, even like with Donkey Kong being in that. They've suddenly realized, oh wow, we have like a catalog of characters that rivals like Disney. We should probably do something with these, right? So
yeah, and that critical bashing on Pixels. I don't know if you guys caught our review, but I definitely liked it a little more than Scott. But I felt like it was totally going over the top. I don't know if you guys saw Pixels, but
I haven't had a chance yet. But
I saw it. Talked about it. I talked about it a little on last week's show.
Yeah, it's not dog off. I mean, were you insulted? Were you?
No, I said it's like, I've played games where I know it's a bad game, but I just enjoyed it and had fun. That's exactly what this movie was. It's shut off your brain, enjoy the ride, fun.
Yeah, and all the blame is being put up on Sandler, but there were a lot more creative components in there than just Adam Sandler.
Yeah, that's definitely not like a classic sort of Adam Sandler movie where.
No. Yeah, exactly. Sure. And the other stuff that he's been doing has been way worse than this. Like, this is no grown-ups, and I think if you're into games, it's pretty fun to watch all of this game imagery come to life like that. They did a pretty good job. Just
visually, I mean, from the trailers, it looks amazing. So
it is too. I was sitting there. I actually got chills watching the Centipede stuff. It's like, oh crap, man! Like, I was there when Centipede hit the arcades, and just to think of how far we've come, that this is now like a part of the culture in this way. I mean, it's not great. Like, we have a long way to go before games are who blows me away with their integration is House of Cards. And I don't know if it's
visually, just with like the texting and stuff like that in that. Even
no, I'm talking about the game appropriation. I don't know if it's if it's paid content or whatever. But every once in a while, Kevin Spacey sits down and he's playing Call of Duty or he's playing,
sure,
Monument Valley on his iPad or what. He's a gamer, and I love that the president of the United States in that setting is also escaping into video games in a culturally relevant way, and I think that we need more of that And Pixels certainly isn't that, but it's another step. It's another step on that road.
Well, I think that's the interesting point that you kind of made. As you mentioned, kind of being in the industry for 20 years. I remember kind of growing up and kind of being a gamer was like the 3 kids in your school who were kind of nerdy, and that was it. And it was kind of shunned upon, right? And culturally, I remember the whole GTA and video games will rot your brain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But now as a culture, and whether that's the ubiquitousness of iTunes and the accessibility of it, or whether it's just those people who grew up during that generation, and people like yourself who've now kind of made this front and center and mainstream, is now so widely accepted that it's not this kind of it's almost odd not to play video games, right? And I think Nintendo has helped to move that market into the household. I think of the Wii, for example, right? Getting people who have never had a video game console in the household playing, whether it's tennis or bowling.
Yeah, and I think the first cycle with the NES was really when it went from fad to most families were participating, and I think that's when the stats started to be like 2/3 of every household in North America has a game system of some kind. And I think that penetration really was the hallmark, or the bedrock of acceptance. Yep, you can, just be careful. But the games business has had a bunch of ups and downs since then. Yeah, just be careful. No problem. Okay. But I think what happened is things like World of Warcraft, I think, really made a huge impact, because I remember that was a game that crossed over. It was something that women were playing with men, and people were having these real relationships and connections online. And I remember it was a pretty profound thing, because I felt very personally connected to video games all the way along. Like I was the a guy that was sort of banging the drum for games out there with the show, and I didn't hear people talking about video games in the real world all that much, unless they recognized me or were fans of the show or whatever. But I was in line at a Starbucks one day, and I just heard the barista and one of the customers just going off on World of Warcraft, and I hadn't even played it. It's not a game that everybody. If you get into that space, I think it's
you'll run into people who play it all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it was so pervasive, and it did become, even though it's relatively. It's a time suck, but it's also it's not Pong. You have to devote time to it to escape into it.
And it's pretty complex and for sure.
But people did, and I heard too, just going, and it was a female barista, and it was a male customer, and they were just back and forth with real excitement. It was kind of like a water cooler, what I did last night kind of thing, and it was phenomenal. And I feel like it was. I don't know if we can point at any one thing, but it was certainly that, and the Wii, and then the iPhone for sure has really, crafted this world of global acceptance for games. But it's also fractured the business in some really significant ways, and Nintendo has been suffering because of that too. There's just so many different ways for people to play, and the traditional, $50, $60, $70 per game model that the industry was built on when it was all magic sauce, I don't know if that can be sustainable. I feel like even a month after these new releases come out, you start to see big sales happening, and people are just getting more and more used to paying a lot less for games these days.
Yeah, for sure. So, if you were to put your tinfoil hat sort of speculation hat on and looked like a few years into the future, where do you see Nintendo fitting into the whole industry? They've kind of not really talked about NX, but they've said the words NX a few times, and we had last week Square Enix mentioning the NX as well, with Dragon Quest and stuff like that. Where do you see Nintendo headed in the next 5 years, or even long term past that? What do you think? short term and long term?
I think that they are an incredible interactive entertainment maker, and they really have put their craftspeople above everything else. So even if they aren't able to have big partnerships for huge third-party catalog stuff going forward, they are always going to have these fantastic products to sell, based on what they can deliver themselves. But I think the other side of it is that they've done this incredibly cagey move to own 10% of a mobile company that's already making tons and tons of money. And they're going to have this whole new huge customer install base that's going to be paying them a fortune starting the end of this year. And that's going to be, explosively successful for them. And I think a lot of that wisdom that they're going to learn from the mobile space is going to filter back to the way that they deal with online relationships with customers and the store that they create, and they've also been unbelievably cagey at selling their catalog stuff when they were on top with third-party relationships. And I think they're going to continue to exploit that and find new ways to tap into that nostalgia. And I wouldn't be surprised if NX is sort of like, just for a little bit longer, but I wouldn't be surprised if NX is the culmination of everything that they've learned in the hardware space.
Are you staying here today?
Yeah, I'm staying here today. Fused with,
If you're staying here today, then you can have a candy.
I can have a candy. Thanks, Sarah.
But only if you stay here. Only if you stay here.
You've passed the test.
Okay. But they're going to fuse all of that hardware know-how with now some really sophisticated internet sort of customer collection, and I think they're going to be very, very successful. And the other part of that equation is what we were talking about with their licensing. I get that candy if I leave. Okay, gotcha. How come that bigger? You give me a bigger candy if I leave.
That's incentivization, is what that is.
That's called an upsell.
All the people want it.
Well, that's awesome.
Is that like paying a musician to stop playing?
We cut it so they don't get too much sugar.
Oh, thank you. Yes, she's going to cut it so we don't get too much sugar.
Good call. It's a good call.
Yeah, so I think Nintendo's. I mean, they're out of the fire now. Like, I think that they're looking on ways to kind of.
Is there no more forest fire?
No, there's still. I said fire, didn't I? Yeah, no, there's still a forest fire. There's still a lot of drought out there, and lots of trees that are very sensitive, and they're burning up, which is really sad. Why'd you have to go all dark on us, Ruby? We were talking about good things.
And it all kind of comes back to that tree that you talked about in The Legend of Zelda.
That's right. Yeah. No, but they, I think that they're recouping what they can on Wii U and 3DS right now. And I think they're doing fine. I think that they're having a really solid year with Splatoon and all the Mario Kart DLC and all that stuff. We can't wait for the Super Mario Maker and the new Yoshi. God, that looks great, huh?
No,
so with
so
a
good,
game
yeah.
like that, as we kind of transition to those ones, will those be games you'll sit down and play with Ruby?
Absolutely. You know what we really connected on was that Kirby Rainbow Curse. It's just so fun to draw the little rainbow line and the sort of widgets on the gamepad. She loved that, and I loved it too.
Can I do that rainbow game?
I told Nintendo about us playing things together, and they're like, I could see their eyes just light up with the idea of putting us on camera together.
Nice.
Oh, that's super cool.
I think that's again testament to their products, right? I mean, both of my daughters will say to me before they go to bed, like, "Hey, can we?" It's either can we play Splatoon, can we play Captain Toad, can we play? And it's such the characters are so friendly and acceptable and easy for kids to enjoy, and the point of entry is easy to sit on a couch and work with a 5-year-old to play something like Splatoon, right? Where it's, let's just paint the colors everywhere, and they love it, right? They're more worried about what color am I? Am I pink or yellow? I want to be pink.
I was just playing some Splatoon, and God, that game is really great. I so called that wrong last year. I thought it wasn't going to be that. I just thought it was going to be a cutesy shooter, and it isn't that. You know, it really is about just spraying paint everywhere and making a total mess and just getting lost in the goofy fun of it, you know? And the sort of zany, punky kind of vibe of it all. Brilliant game. They did a great job.
Yeah, which leads me to my next very important question for this Saturday Splatfest. Are you team marshmallows or team hot dogs?
I'm a hot dog guy, but it's got to be a veggie dog.
There you go. That was my son's choice this week too. So now I was really important that we cleared that up. Absolutely.
Yep.
One of my friends posted a picture of a partial picture of Marie talking about the hot dog, and I said, "But in a world with sea creatures in it that probably does not have cows or pigs, what is in the hot dog?"
Yes.
A whole bunch of who knows what. Right on. Well, I'm trying to think if we have anything else. Justin, what do we got?
I think that's, I think first and foremost, Vic, thanks so much for taking time with us out of your day and connecting with us. And Ruby, I don't know if she can hear us. Thank you for letting us know what games you like to play and having fun on those as well. We appreciate it. This is just fantastic. I've grown up kind of watching you as a game journalist here in Canada and admired the work that you do, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ruby, what do you say to these people?
Thank you. Now can we watch that?
Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you, Ruby. Absolutely.
You guys were great.
All right.
Thanks for having both of us on. That's really sweet.
Yeah, for sure. So where can all the people find what you're doing online? You've got a podcast going as well, right? Vic's Basement?
Yep. Yes, we do. You can watch everything at epn.tv. That's the easiest way. Just watch everything there. We've got YouTube and Facebook things going too, and videos and iTunes. But
Who's talking?
these are my friends at Nintendo Dads. They run a.
Who's talking right now?
Well, I was.
Talking in there.
Nobody's talking in there. We couldn't get this microphone to work. But epn.tv is where you go, guys.
Right on.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks again, Vic, and we look forward to maybe inviting you back on sometime in the future as well if you're up for it.
And we may have put out on Twitter a challenge to Bill Trennan, you, and us trying to get together in some Splatoon squad. I'm just saying, but
Okay.
dreams may come true. Who knows?
Okay, I've got a date with Ruby and Zelda right now, guys.
All right,
Love it. Let
sounds
you be.
good.
Thanks, Vic.
Take it easy, guys.
Take care.
Have a good
Bye.
one.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.